Ethan Carter wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stood amidst his vast sun-baked fields. The farm, passed down through 4 generations, was the only life he had ever known. Despite pouring everything into it, his time, energy, and heart, the debts continued to mount. The cost of maintaining the land, feeding the animals, and staying ahead of creditors had become too much to handle. He had tried at all side jobs, trimming expenses, even modern farming practices, but none of it was enough. As he headed back to the house, he saw his wife, Sarah, standing on the porch, concern written all over her face. "Ethan," she said softly, "another letter came today." With trembling hands, he took the envelope, already fearing what it contained. Tearing it open, his worst fears were confirmed. Final notice. Foreclosure in 30 days. His heart sank. He glanced at Sarah, then toward their 10-year-old son, Ben, who was playing with their old dog, Rusty. The idea of losing everything broke him. "We'll figure it out," he said, trying to inject some optimism into his tone. Sarah gave a small nod, but deep down, they both knew the truth. Time was slipping away. Selling the land felt like abandoning generations of family heritage. Still, what other option did they have? Clutching the notice tightly, Ethan stared into the horizon. There had to be another way. The next morning, as if the universe sensed Ethan's despair, a man in a tailored suit arrived. He introduced himself as a representative from a powerful agricultural corporation buying land across the Midwest. "Mr. Carter," the man said with a smug smile, handing him a document. Ethan skimmed the offer and his stomach dropped. The amount was barely half of what the land was worth. "I'm not selling," he said firmly. The man chuckled. "You won't have a choice soon." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Ethan fuming. He crumpled the offer and tossed it in the trash. This farm was more than soil, it was legacy. No company would take that from him. That night, after tucking Ben into bed, Ethan stepped out beneath the night sky. As he turned to re-enter the house, he noticed a plain envelope peeking from the mailbox. No return address. Curious, he opened it. Inside was a handwritten note. "Don't give up. Help is on the way." Ethan's eyes widened. Who sent this? A cruel prank or a real sign of hope? He showed it to Sarah, who frowned. "What if it's a scam?" she asked. But for the first time in weeks, Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Fueled by that note, Ethan explored every option he could think of. He returned to the bank, but they denied his loan extension. He sold off old equipment, though it barely touched the debt. He even took on extra labor jobs, but still came up short. Sarah worried about how much he was pushing himself. "We can't lose this place," he whispered late one night as he stared at stacks of unpaid bills. "We'll figure it out." Sarah reassured him, placing a hand on his. Ethan turned to his old friend Jake, another farmer who had weathered hard times. "You need someone with influence," Jake said. "Someone who can actually move the needle." "Like who?" "The president," Ethan joked. Jake shrugged. "Why not?" The idea seemed absurd, but as Ethan lay awake that night, it stuck with him. Trump had built his name supporting American businesses. Maybe he'd care about a struggling farmer. Ethan sat up, grabbed a notepad, and began writing, pouring out everything from his soul into that letter. "It's a long shot," he thought, "but what do I have to lose?" He mailed it the next morning with no expectations. Surely the president had more pressing concerns than one farmer's troubles. Days passed. Then a week. Nothing. Then, one afternoon, as Ethan was repairing a broken fence, Sarah came running from the house, breathless. "Ethan, you got a call." He wiped his hands and answered the phone. A deep, unmistakable voice came through. "Ethan, this is Donald Trump. I read your letter. Let's talk." Ethan's knees nearly buckled. "Mr. President," he stuttered. "That's me," Trump replied. "I like your story. You're a fighter. We need more fighters." Trump asked detailed questions about the farm, the foreclosure, agritechs, pressure tactics. Then he said, "I've got a plan. I'll see you at your farm in 3 days. Ethan's jaw dropped. "You're coming here. See you soon." The line went dead. Still trembling, Ethan looked at Sarah. "Donald Trump is coming to our farm." By the morning of Trump's visit, the small town was electric. Roads were packed with onlookers, reporters, and flag-waving supporters. Ethan stood on his porch as a convoy of black SUVs rolled in. Secret Service agents stepped out, scanning the area. Then, President Donald Trump emerged from a vehicle and strode toward Ethan. "Beautiful farm you've got here," he said, shaking Ethan's hand. "Let's make sure you keep it." Ethan still couldn't process if the President of the United States was standing on his land. Wearing his signature suit and red tie, Trump examined the fields like it was a billion-dollar investment. "Tell me everything," Trump said. Ethan told him about the bank, the foreclosure, agritech. Trump listened closely. Then, without a word, he pulled out his phone and started making calls, right there in the field. Ethan couldn't catch all the details, but he heard phrases like agriculture initiative, federal procurement, and veteran food supply. After a few calls, Trump turned back to him. "You're not just a farmer, Ethan, you're a business owner." and America needs business owners like you. Trump then laid out a plan and initiative that would allow struggling farmers to supply produce for government contracts, including schools and military bases. If Ethan qualified, he wouldn't just survive, he'd thrive. Just as hope began to return, Agritech's executives arrived. The same man who tried to buy him out stepped forward. "Mr. President, we've legally acquired land in this area," he said. "This farm is done." Trump smirked. "Actually, it's not." He handed the man a document. "Your expansion violates federal land use regulations. Your contracts are void." The lawyer scanned the paperwork, his face draining of color. "This can't be valid." "It is," Trump replied, "and if you push it, I'll make sure you never do business here again." That moment galvanized the entire community. Farmers, local businesses, even skeptics rallied around Ethan. Some contributed money to help him pay off debt. Others offered labor. Local grocery stores agreed to buy his produce. For the first time in weeks, Ethan felt hope. Standing with Sarah and Ben, watching the town come together, Sarah whispered, "Maybe this farm really can make it." Ethan nodded, eyes moist. "It's more than a farm, now it's a stand for all of us." That evening, a new visitor appeared, David Grayson, a well-dressed man who had seen Trump's visit on the news. "I run a food distribution company," he said, "and I want to work with you." Grayson offered Ethan a long-term contract for local, high-quality produce, paying far more than Ethan ever expected. With Sarah's nod of approval, Ethan accepted. The very next day, the bank called. "Mr. Carter, in light of your new deals, we'd like to revisit your loan and discuss refinancing." Just days ago, they were ready to take everything. Now, they treated him like royalty. "I'll think about it," Ethan replied with a grin. Sarah embraced him. "We did it." "No," Ethan said. "We did it." Agritech made one final, desperate offer, 3 times their original bid. Enough to retire forever. Ethan looked at the paper, then to his land. This was where his grandfather taught him to plant, where his father spent his last years, where Ben ran and laughed. Without hesitation, he ripped the offer in half. When Agritech's lawyer called, Ethan calmly said, "This farm isn't for sale. Not now, not ever." For the first time in a long while, he felt truly free. Before leaving, Trump shook Ethan's hand. "You fought and you won. That's what America is about." The crowd cheered. Ben looked up and asked, "Mr. President, does that mean our farm is safe forever?" Trump placed a hand on his shoulder. "Forever is a long time, kid, but as long as we have people like your dad, the American dream will always be safe." As the convoy rolled away, Ethan stood in quiet reflection. He had started alone but now had his family, his neighbors, and a president who stood by him. With the farm secure, Ethan expanded operations. He hired locals, delivered to schools, served military bases, and reached restaurants. News stations told his story. Other farmers took inspiration. "If he can do it," one said, "so can we." One quiet evening, Ethan sat by the fire, pen in hand, and wrote, "Mr. President, you may never read this, but thank you. My farm still stands. My son has a future, and my town has hope. You didn't have to help, but you did. I'll always be grateful." A week later, a small envelope arrived. Inside was a note. "Keep fighting. America needs farmers like you." DJT. Years passed. Ethan's business flourished. His community thrived. The land once on the brink of foreclosure became a symbol of resilience. One evening, as he walked the fields with Ben, the boy asked, "Dad, will this farm always be ours?" Ethan smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, son, thanks to a little help and a lot of faith." As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Ethan looked over the land his ancestors had once worked. He had nearly lost it, but through strength, perseverance, and an unexpected ally, their legacy endured. If you want more videos like this, then press bell icon and also my subscribe channel.